Okay. Hi, Deanna. What do you teach?
I teach 4th grade PYP, and that covers all contents.
And would you mind, how long have you taught for?
This is my 7th year.
Wow. And would you mind showing us around the classroom about how you facilitate grouping in the classroom?
Sure. So we keep ourselves inside of a circle all the time so that everything we do, we're doing it as a community. But inside of my circle, I have different groups of different sizes too. So I have, for example, a group of 4 here, a group of 3 here. I have a group of 6 that I can split in half depending on our needs. Another group of 3, 3, and 3. And what's really cool about this setup is that, yes, we can turn and talk with our group members, but we can also have different group members turn and talk if they need to. Grouping doesn't necessarily need to be in their set groups. But what I really like about the groups is that they set up their jobs. So we have different jobs for the different members. And at the beginning of every new unit, we have new groups, and they talk together about who's going to do what job, and they come up with 3 agreements, not just of what they want for each other. For example, we want to respect each other, and I always push them to say how. What does that look like? What does that sound like? And so they come up with agreements and a name that they all have to agree on, that they use for the rest of the unit.
Did you do the same system last year?
This horseshoe I did not use last year. I did use the jobs last year. I had them in pods of 4. And what I found for our particular class size, with it being so small, is that movement throughout the class was very difficult. And whenever I did a whole group lesson, I found that their attention was elsewhere. And so this has really helped us to feel like a community and feel together while also learning those peer support skills.
I'm interested in knowing is once they are in groups over and over again, do they start to change how they talk about the groups or change the rules based off of their past experiences?
Yeah, so if you come over here, our reflection at the end of our last unit, before we switched groups, was what do you want to change about the way that you acted inside of the group? So they reflected on what went well in their group and what they felt like made their group challenging, and they reflected on what they would do differently before they made their agreements. And so that's a way for them to constantly reflect on how they're behaving, how they want their partners to behave, and what they expect of each other.
That's fantastic. Anything else you want to show us just with like the spaces for like when they get in groups? Are they always kind of in this particular area, or I noticed you also have some really cool spaces like pillows and stuff.
We've got lots of flexible seating. So when we do daily 5, which is when we do our literacy, it's really, for us, it's daily 4. We do like a small mini lesson, and then they know how to rotate throughout the classroom, and they know what parts of the classroom are for different parts. So for example, when they're doing lang study or word work, they're doing that at their desks. We have these really cool little writing desks that the first group will set up, and they know where in the classroom those are allowed to sit, and they stay out during the entire group so they can go and sit and write around the classroom. For reading, any of the pillow spots that are around are for reading, and then my teacher desk is where I do any small group work with them. When we do whole group, this is where we are, and then sometimes, for example, we just did body systems groups to work on research skills, presentation skills, and things like that. They got assigned different sections of the classroom that we rotated with their group so that they could experience what it was like to work in different spots and really figure out how they work well in different areas of the room.
What are your biggest challenges with you have a lot of really great systems, so what are your greatest challenges still with grouping?
I think trying to get them to work with people that aren't their best friends is probably the biggest challenge. And so when they started off the year, I made a point to make it boy, girl around the room so that they started the year off realizing they're gonna have to work with people that they might not consider to be their best friend. And then whenever I built their groups, I try to disperse different characteristics. And sometimes when you get a class that has a strong characteristic in one way, shape, or form, it becomes challenging because you can only spread them out so far. So managing the different personalities of the kids inside of the group is challenging, not just because of that, but also when you put them in the group, sometimes they react differently than you expected them to. So just constantly being aware of where their personalities are, how they change over time, and how they change with different people.
Thank you so much for showing us your space.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. It's like my second home. I love it.
Woo!